One of the most common questions I get is, Nick, do I need a million different bass lures? And the reality is, the more you know about bass fishing, the more you know about the lakes, the time of years, the situation, the watercolor, the conditions, the more lures you will need. If you were just beginning, just go out there and learn a Texas rig or a drop shot and just start off with that. But the more you learn about bass fishing, the more lures you will need. And the reason why is bass lures are tools. We're either matching the hatch or trying to cause them to react or doing something completely different for them that's unique, that triggers that bass into striking. Bass fishing lures are tools. There is no magic one lure that's going to catch them everywhere you go every single time, or it may just catch the little ones, or it may just catch the big ones. It's application purpose for what a lure can do. So what I want to show you guys today is Headbanger lures. I got them all out here. Everything the company has. And the reason why I'm going to do this and show you is they have very unique lures. Nothing cookie cutter. A lot of lure companies you will see make similar lures to each other, but they try to perfect them or refine them and give them their own feel on there, which is great. But for example, if you've ever looked at a Headbanger lure, you'll be like, I don't know what that's like, because there's not anything like them. Dan, the designer, he started off pike fishing, and believe it or not, the original little Headbanger right here was an incredible pike lure. So he made a small version, and the bass murdered this thing at the right times of year. So what I want to explain is a little bit about certain lures and how you can get bit. Whether you're using a Headbanger lure or not, this information is going to help you a ton when selecting a lure. So when I first got my hands on this original Headbanger, there's multiple different sizes of this guy, floating, suspending, sinking as well. When I first got my hands on it, I was trying to, in my head, think, what is this bait like? Is it like a crankbait? Is it like a vibrating jig? Is it like a swim bait? It looks kind of like a little bit of everything. And the interesting part about this bait is it vibrates as you're reeling it in, it shakes back and forth, and it randomly darts off the tracking motion, which triggers fish. And I was trying to figure out when was the time and place, you know, when was it best for this? Now, what I noticed is when a lot of reactionary baits aren't working in the spring, this one gets bit very early, a lot like a swim bait, a soft plastic, smaller swim bait that you're throwing earlier in the spring gets bit very well. But for some reason, this bait, and I think it's that random darting off motion, I typically don't catch a ton, but I catch bigger ones, way on average, and that is not a big bait. It's a very unique thing. I've actually caught big stripers on this smaller one, where I'm around schooling stripers. So for some reason, I think it's that random dart off motion that triggers a much better fish on average. Another thing, I'm actually out here on New Maloney's today talking about this. I've been out fishing shad spawns the last couple years in a row, and you'll see spotted bass, largemouth bass busting those shad. And this bait right there, I guarantee you, you will pull consistently the better than average fish out of that school. I'm not making this up. I honestly don't know why. I'm guessing it's that random darting motion. So that's where that Headbanger works. The original Headbanger works really well, and it also works really good later in the wintertime. I use this, I believe this one's called Ghost Shad here. I use that around the shad die off, and I use the sinking one, and I let it get down to the bottom, and I slow roll it along the bottom, and I've caught a ton of big ones like that. Now, the latest and greatest is the Cranky Shad, whatever you want to call it. That little guy right there is a hard body. It doesn't have that soft plastic tail. And this is a slow sink. This works just like a countdown crankbait, and it has that same erratic darting out action, which is very unique for a hard body bait. And this one has a lot more to it. So I believe this bait's going to do a little bit better. It's a brand new one. You can't get it yet. They are coming though. So check headbangerlures.com to see if it's on there. You know, they got the shad finish right here. Really nice. These finishes are amazing. I've already caught a couple of big ones at my house. I'm out here in New Maloney to try it out today to see if I got some shallow fish up there. But this will come in a couple different sizes as well. I know this is the smaller guy right here, but a really cool middle of the water column countdown style of bait. There's not a lot that exists on the market. If you've never used a countdown lure, crankbait, you're really missing out. I'm here in Northern California, so we have some deep reservoirs that we're fishing, and being able to get that down, whether I'm looking at a fish finder or I'm casting from the bank. I reel it once shallow, I count a few seconds, reel again. It gives you different options in different areas of the water column to target with a bait like that. So one of my favorite hard baits is the Spitfire. I came out and I had Dan fishing with me, and I said, Dan, with this type of action you have to build me a topwater, brother. And he's like, okay. So he sent me some prototypes. I'm like, that's almost it. And then he came up with the Spitfire. You can see there's two different sizes right here. This is the most erratic topwater wake bait you can do. If you throw buzz baits and you like baits that move a ton of water, this thing moves as much as a double buzz bait for surface water. So you hear that motion because that head's chugging back and forth as that multi-segmented body's cutting like that. You can actually reel faster and throw more water and that body will run tighter. If you reel slow, you won't hear the motion, but that body will give you really nice snake-like motion. Let's say it's calmer out, you can reel that real slow and trigger those fish that are getting a good look. And today's a calmer, cleaner water day, so you can see I have one of the more translucent patterns right there. I don't want to give them a good look. I'm not going to be reeling hard today, but if this water was muddy, I would probably be reeling a little bit harder, getting that more audible action. If they're on smaller bait fish, I'm gonna go the smaller guy. If I'm looking for that trophy fish or get 1 or 2 to a 5, you know, 2 big kickers in a 5 bag, then I'm gonna go with the big guy right there to try to bigger fish in the boat. Or if I just wanna look like a hero, I'm gonna throw this all day and get me 2 or 3 monsters. But if money's on the line, I'm probably gonna be throwing the smaller guy to go for more bites. So you can figure that out on your own right there. One of my favorite times to start fishing the Spitfire is the post spawn for bass. A lot of the time they're done spawned out, they're looking for a bigger meal. They want to get that big meal quick, and it's a great time to get a topwater blow up. Summer mornings, summer evenings, also a phenomenal time. Midday, you can parallel boat docks with this guy. In the fall, once again, you know, over trees, over grass beds, over shallow flats or points, gonna get you a lot of big ones. Some of my biggest bass that I have on my resume are recently due to the Spitfire. Believe it or not, I've definitely caught a lot more 5s and 6s on the big one, but I have 2 9-pounders on the little guy, so that's got me scratching my head. But consistently, my bigger ones have been here, but my 2 tanks are on the little guy. So I don't know, you can explain that to me. So check this out. This is the rocker head. Now, if you can see right here, you see that little cup on the front of there. This is a swing head jig that swings around on there. You can see that. And a lot of people were assuming that you cast this and reel it in like a vibrating jig or a chatterbait, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, you can do that. But this bait, I've found, works phenomenally well for dragging across the bottom. Anytime it hits something, it kind of snakes around and finds its way around the objects. Believe it or not, that cut face does not snag easily whatsoever. My favorite retrieve of this, and you'll probably see some footage throughout the years or some of my other episodes where I'm working the rocker head, I let it get all the way to the bottom, and you Texas rig of plastic on here, and I'm going to get into their plastic shortly. But just lifting it, you'll feel in the rod tip, in the rod tip. As you lift it, it's yo-yoing like a lipless bait, okay? Like a rattle trap, yo-yoing it off the bottom, LV 500. But you're completely weedless, and you can put a creature bait presentation on there. It's super different look. I've buried this in the trees, throwing it into the trees, throwing it into heavy grass, and just yo-yoing it, and this thing's consistently coming out clean. They do got the little guy coming for you guys soon here too, which I've been having a lot of fun putting the more finesse stuff on here, getting a lot of bites on that. Which is great because we're just coming out of winter right now, so the little finesse one's fun. But hey, a lot of those bigger jig fish, you can show them something completely different. Give them that yo-yo retrieve, drag it on the bottom, yo-yo it up off the bottom, and you'll feel that action, and it quivers really good. Now, the baits that they design for the rocker head, creature baits. This is the Banger Bug right here. You can see they have some amazing kicking appendages. It's got like a little skeleton chest on it, kicking appendages up here. These are real soft plastics that fish hang on to, and they kick really well at slow speeds. That's why I love them on the rocker head right there, but you can put any plastic you want on there if that's what you want. The Banger Lizard was a really popular one that I was throwing last winter. And when I'm dragging across the bottom, I really like the Headbanger Lizard because it's got that longer tail on there, to where when I'm dragging, I feel like I get really good subtle bottom action with the Headbanger Lizard, and it's got a little bit more of a solid body on there too for that dragging across the bottom. Whereas the Headbanger Bug, when I'm yo-yoing, I really like the Headbanger Bug a lot. Now, if you're I only throw crawdad plastics guys, there's the Headbanger Craw. Extra long appendages. So on the slowest movement, these are gonna kick and undulate for you very nice. Much more solid body throughout there for flipping into heavy cover and structure. If you're a punching guy, this can be a phenomenal choice for you right here. Now on the rocker head, this is kind of like my in-between. If I'm looking for a little bit bigger bite, sometimes I'll go with the Headbanger Craw. Also early in the spring, big female bass start to really lock into crawfish patterns. So that's a really good time too, early in the spring, to, you know, show them something more crawfish looking in the spring from there. But this is gonna help you get on the bottom, this bigger guy, if you're fishing a lot of shallow systems, or you're looking for more bites in colder months, or when it gets really tough in the middle of the summer and it's really hot, go into the more finesse option like that. Could be a great choice for you. So I don't know if I'm even allowed to talk about this bait, but I'm going to, you guys. This is the new rib, or ribs. You can see it's very light minnow style bait with a long tail that kicks at ultra subtle retrieves. What I like about this minnow style bait is it's coming in a few different sizes. This thing moves at the slowest speed possible a lot of the time, and I have it right here on a weedless underspin right here. It's a BKK setup. And when a fish comes up with a soft plastic swim bait, sometimes they'll fold it over and they jam a lot of meat inside that hook gap, which prevents them from getting it. But if you look, I'm not sure how well you can see that, that is very thin in the middle of the body right there. When a fish collapses down on this, just look, there is no meat blocking that hook whatsoever. The tail's really thin. You can jam all bits of that bait in there and you are not blocking that hook gap whatsoever. But yet it's a really, really nice presentation, you know, on the bigger hook like that. It shows a much bigger meal, but it's very hollowed out. That's the ribs. Really, really good action. Very subtle, snaky action on there too, with a good tail kick. But shows a big profile, but is actually remarkably light and doesn't block the hook at all, which I've been loving this. I've only got to fish it for a couple of trips now, but I got a few good fish on it and that I'm pretty stoked about. And then they got the little guy right here, you know. This would be an awesome drop shot option, or you can rig it if you want. You can go to the little tiny rocker head, fish it on the bottom like that. You know, you can put it on a little ball head jig, drop shot it. There's gonna be a lot of options for this guy right here. I know I'm going to be throwing it on a little ball head jig today and probably drop shotting it since it's very early in the spring right now. And those are just a few different perspectives on some of the baits that I use from Headbanger, you guys. But you really need to think about this. Every lure is unique. You know, no two lures are the same. Similar action between these guys, but I guarantee you there will be days, whether there are 3 or 4 different crankbaits or square bills or swim baits you have in your box, and those fish will be keyed into one of those baits more so on a different day, and another one that you have in your box on another day. So the more you learn, this is an amazing game. Bass fishing is truly an amazing game. This is not about fitness, it's about knowledge. So get out there, absorb some of that knowledge, try some of these cool baits that I showed you today. It's really, really cool. That Headbanger's developing really outside the box stuff. This is why I wanted to show you guys their products. And if you ever have any questions about lures, or, you know, certain conditions or lakes that you're going to, message me on YouTube when I release a video. I try to get back and answer those, or I'll send you a video giving you some insight on knowledge and what you can use to, you know, hopefully put some more fish in the boat for you guys. But hopefully you picked up a few tips from this. Appreciate you watching.